The knock came just after midnight, sharp enough to slice through the quiet but hesitant enough to sound afraid. Ethan froze on the couch, his body instinctively curling around his 6-year-old son, Noah, who slept with his cheek pressed against Ethan's chest. The television glowed softly, forgotten, while rain whispered against the windows like fingers searching for a way in. No one ever knocked this late. Not since grief had turned his home into a place people politely avoided. The knock came again, lighter this time, almost like a plea. Ethan gently shifted Noah onto a pillow, careful not to wake him, and stood. His heart beat louder with every step toward the door. He rested his hand on the knob and leaned toward the peephole. A woman stood in the narrow hallway, drenched, barefoot, hair tangled and clinging to her face. She was hugging herself as if holding her body together required effort. Her eyes darted nervously, as though she expected someone to appear behind her at any second. Ethan cracked the door open. "Can I help you?" he asked quietly. Her voice trembled when she spoke. "Please. I just need somewhere safe for tonight. I won't cause trouble. I swear." Every instinct screamed caution. He was a single dad with a small apartment and a child asleep inside. The world had taught him to be careful. But then she swayed, gripping the doorframe to stay upright, and the fear in her eyes felt painfully real. He opened the door. Warm air spilled into the hall as she stepped inside, moving like someone who had been running for a very long time. Ethan handed her a towel, noticing the faint purple bruising along her wrist, the way she flinched when thunder cracked outside. He gestured toward the couch, keeping his voice calm. "You can sit. You're safe here." Noah stirred, blinking awake. "Daddy," he murmured. The woman stiffened instantly. "I didn't know you had a child," she said, panic rushing into her tone. "I can leave. I don't want to put anyone in danger." Ethan shook his head. "You're not going anywhere tonight." Noah peeked at her over the blanket and frowned. "You're shaking," he said softly, then added with childlike certainty, "You need warm tea." Something in the woman broke. She turned away, pressing the towel to her face as silent tears slipped free. Ethan brewed tea while she warmed her hands around the mug, introducing herself only as Lily. He didn't ask questions. Some stories needed time before they could be spoken. Outside, the rain intensified, the night growing louder and darker. Then headlights swept across the window. Lily went rigid. Her breath hitched. "They found me," she whispered, terror flooding her face. Ethan didn't hesitate. He turned off every light, pulled the curtains tight, and gently guided her behind the couch. He positioned himself near the door, heart pounding so hard it made his ears ring. A car idled outside. Seconds stretched painfully long. Noah clutched Ethan's hand, silent and trusting. Finally, the engine faded into the distance. Ethan exhaled, unaware that by opening his door for one desperate night, he had stepped into a story that would change all their lives forever. Morning arrived quietly, as if the night itself was afraid to make noise. Pale sunlight crept through the thin curtains, touching the cluttered living room where Ethan had slept sitting upright on the floor, his back against the couch. He woke with a stiff neck and the strange disorientation of someone who hadn't truly rested. For a moment, he forgot why. Then he heard soft movement behind him. Lily stood near the sink, rinsing out her teacup. She had changed into one of Ethan's oversized sweatshirts, the sleeves rolled up to her elbows. Her hair was still damp, pulled back loosely, and without the shadows of fear so sharply etched across her face, she looked younger. Fragile. Human. "I'm sorry," she said quickly when she noticed him awake. "I didn't mean to make noise." "It's fine," Ethan replied, pushing himself up. "You should have slept longer." She gave a sad smile. "I'm not very good at sleeping." Noah shuffled out of the bedroom, rubbing his eyes. When he saw Lily, he didn't hesitate. He walked straight to her and held up his stuffed dinosaur. You can borrow him if you're still scared, he said seriously. Lily knelt, her eyes filling. Thank you, she whispered, accepting the toy like it was something precious. Ethan watched the exchange with a tight feeling in his chest. This woman had been terrified just hours ago, hunted by something unseen, and yet here she was, kneeling on his kitchen floor, smiling at his son like she'd known him longer than a night. They ate a quiet breakfast together. Lily barely touched her food, constantly glancing toward the window. Every car that passed made her shoulders tense. Ethan noticed the way her hands trembled when she lifted her cup. You don't have to tell me anything, he said gently. But if you're in trouble, I need to know how serious it is. She swallowed hard. Serious enough that I shouldn't have knocked on your door, she admitted. I tried to keep running. I really did. Her voice cracked, and for the first time, words spilled out in broken pieces. She had seen something she wasn't meant to see. Heard conversations meant to stay buried. Powerful people. Dangerous ones. When she refused to stay quiet, everything in her life disappeared, her job, her apartment, her sense of safety. They don't forgive witnesses, she said softly. They erase them. A knock thundered at the door. Noah jumped. Lily went pale, backing away instinctively. Ethan felt his pulse roar in his ears. He moved slowly toward the door, signaling for Lily to stay back. Police, a voice called. Relief and fear collided inside Ethan as he opened the door. Two officers stood outside, their expressions serious but not threatening. They asked questions. Had he seen a woman matching Lily's description? Did he know where she might be? Ethan hesitated for half a second, a pause that would later define everything. Yes, he said finally. She's here. Lily stepped forward, shoulders squared, eyes glossy but determined. I'm done running, she said. The officers exchanged a look. One of them nodded. You did the right thing coming forward, he said. But you need to understand, this puts you and your son at risk. Ethan looked at Noah, who clutched his dinosaur tightly. Fear gripped him. But beneath it was something stronger. Loneliness had taught him how empty life could be when you only protected yourself. And somehow, in one long night, protecting someone else had reminded him what it meant to be brave. The weeks that followed moved in a blur Ethan never could have imagined. His apartment, once a quiet place filled only with the echoes of bedtime stories and late-night thoughts, became a temporary stop in a much larger storm. After Lily stepped forward, everything changed. Officers returned with instructions, forms, careful voices that tried to soften the truth. Ethan and Noah could no longer stay there. Protective custody relocated them to a modest house on the edge of town. It wasn't home, but it was safe. Lily was placed nearby under strict supervision, allowed only limited contact. Still, in small, stolen moments, during monitored walks or brief conversations across safe distances, Ethan saw the fear slowly leave her eyes. Strength took its place. Noah adapted faster than anyone. Children always did. He waved at the agents like they were old friends and insisted Lily sit beside him during supervised visits. She's family now, he announced once, as if it were already decided. Lily laughed through tears, and Ethan felt something loosen inside his chest. The case unfolded piece by piece. Lily testified, her voice steady despite the weight of everything stacked against her. The people who had chased her through the night were no longer shadows, they had names, faces, consequences. Each day brought new tension, but also a growing sense that the fear no longer owned them. One afternoon, as autumn light filtered through golden leaves, an officer finally delivered the words Ethan hadn't realized he was holding his breath for. It's over, she said. They can't touch you anymore. The silence that followed felt unreal. Life didn't snap back into place, it slowly stitched itself together. Ethan returned to work. Noah went back to school. The house emptied of agents and schedules and whispered warnings. And Lily, no longer running, stood on her own feet for the first time in a long while. On a crisp evening months later, there was another knock on Ethan's door. This time, it came in daylight. Ethan opened it to find Lily standing there, steady, smiling, holding a small potted plant in her hands. "I thought I should bring something," she said. "For the night you gave me more than shelter." Noah ran to her, wrapping his arms around her waist without hesitation. She knelt and hugged him back, laughing softly. "I never thanked you properly," Lily said later, her voice quiet but sure. "You protected me when you didn't know who I was. When it would have been easier to turn me away." Ethan shook his head. "I was lonely," he admitted. "You just reminded me that opening the door still mattered." They stood there together as the sun dipped low, the past finally behind them. What began as one desperate night became the beginning of something neither of them had been brave enough to hope for, a future built not on fear, but on the simple, powerful choice to let someone in.